Hello and welcome to another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. Today I have another interview for you, and today I have with me Kavya. Hey Kavya.
Hi,
How are you?
Pedro. I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation to speak about your product, Resumey. And so again, the way I met Kavya was through Twitter, which is the platform I'm using now to get most of the people I interview. And I just saw your product. I think you maybe in the hashtag build in public. Could it be? Are you
Yes.
using that hashtag too?
Yep, I am. Yes.
Yeah. And I saw the product and I thought it was super interesting. You'll speak about Resumey in a second, and we'll speak about it as well. But it's basically a product that helps people build nice resumes that stand out, and it's a tool that people can also pay in order to use and to activate a bunch of other features. But you'll speak about it in a minute, so no worries. And so I'm super excited to speak with you and speak about also your journey. And I would start by asking you, Kavya, to introduce yourself in a few words. Who is Kavya?
Sure. Thanks, Diego, for inviting me over. I'm actually quite excited to be talking to you, sharing this journey with all your listeners. So I'm Kavya. I'm basically from India, but I'm based in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for over 11 years now. I came here for my studies and then I graduated. I worked actually in a couple of large banks like JP Morgan, Commerce Bank for a couple of years before I moved to a startup environment. When I was in these companies, I realized that I do like working on ideas. I do like working on building things. That excited me. So I moved to a startup, not my own, but it was started by two other co-founders. So I worked there, and while I was working throughout these different organizations, I did work on side projects, something that I could call my own. So that's how my journey has been so far. There were two ideas that I tried and failed. So maybe I can talk about those as well as we move along.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but then finally the third one is here, which is Resumey Pro that you mentioned. So now I recently quit my full-time job to focus on building Resumey further. So that's me.
And we figured out that you quit at the same time as I quit.
Yes.
To start Change It, right? Also in June.
Exactly.
So not long ago.
Exactly. Yeah, and I do think, the pandemic did have a part to play for me to realize that, when we were all like sitting at home and working, and that kind of gave me some time as well to reflect and introspect. Maybe this is the time to take a leap forward.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were speaking about the big resignation or something, because I think a lot of people also quit or use this opportunity to change jobs or change careers. So maybe it's not something that unique, and a lot of people did it, but it's still brave, especially during the pandemic, right? Because it's a time, very volatile times, when we don't know if we will have a job, so it's kind of risky, and it's something that I was somehow worried about before quitting, because a lot of people told me, like, are you sure you want to quit now in this pandemic? So you're from India, and where in India, by the way?
I'm from Bangalore, down south.
Bangalore, is it the capital of startups? No.
Well, you could say that. A lot of tech companies, a lot of startups are based in Bangalore. So yes.
Yeah. Because on Twitter, there's a lot of people speaking about it, about Bangalore, and about it's kind of the capital of startups of India or something. So.
True. They call it the Silicon Valley of India.
Exactly. Yeah. Silicon Valley of India. Cool. And what is your background? when you were working for these banks and so on, what was your area?
So I worked in a variety of roles actually. So I'm an engineer by education. I worked in technology teams. I was in data team. So in banks, there are very niche specific roles. So I was in one of those debt instruments data team. But when I moved on to the startup, the most recent one that I was working at, there were a lot of different kinds of hats that I had to wear: product management, talking to the developers, translating our business requirements, and also marketing the app. So that's when it was quite exciting and very new for me. I have no background in marketing whatsoever. But that's something that you have to learn along.
Yeah. So you were doing some kind of data engineering position before?
Yeah.
And then you moved towards everything basically.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's funny because in one of my episodes I have a friend from India, and we did episode where I compared my experience working on a startup in Germany, because I used to work in Germany, and then he compared his experience working in a startup in India, which was I think Gurgaon, close to Delhi. And it's interesting because in the end we kind of realized that everything was very similar somehow. And I want to ask you, like, how was your experience working? So the startup, was it in Bangalore too?
No, it was in Singapore. So I came to Singapore 11 years ago. So I've been working in Singapore ever since.
Okay. And tell me about the difference. So you just said it, of course, that in the startup you used to work or you wear many hats. But what was the difference for your motivation? Was it like more motivating for you? Did you have more passion working on a startup? Did you feel more fulfilled, or were you just burning out and you couldn't do much?
Right. That's a very interesting question. I have pondered about it a lot in the past as well. Basically, I think I'm somewhere in between being risk averse and risk taking, if you could classify me somewhere there. So by that, I mean, I am risk taking in the sense I don't enjoy being in a role which I have figured out after 5 to 6 months, right? So that's how like it was in a bank where the roles are well defined. This is what is expected of you.
Right.
So after a certain point in the learning curve, that there is a plateau, and generally, like people would change roles internally, like they would move to different teams so that they're challenging themselves. And soon I realized like that's not something that excites me anymore. So which is when I started working on my side projects, just to see if this is something that I would enjoy. And then I realized that it is very different when you're working on something which is very small, which is very in its nascent stage, and then you're building it up. So in that sense, I made that move to a startup. So so I would say it was more of a pull factor than a push factor. Yeah, these things, like it's also about how much appetite you have to take that risk or that plunge at that point.
Yeah. And what were the bad things or things that you added better in the bank or in the more traditional company that you didn't enjoy so much in the startup?
Right. So it was a reality check for me when I started working for the startup. I realized that like all the good things, of course, I was aware of, but no one told me that how hard it would be without any structure or processes in place. So we had to hire people for our startup. So I was the HR manager. And every time we would have to invoice something, I would do the admin work. So sometimes, like, we had to apply for grant from the government for the startup.
Right.
So then you literally have to figure out everything on the go. So for the first 2 months, it was fine. Everything's new, and I was enthusiastic. I was like, okay, give me more. I will do this and I will do that. But after a while, it gets exhausting. It definitely gets exhausting. So you need an external motivation as well. Like if you're going for the pay, I don't think that would necessarily hold you for the long term. Yeah.
So what was your external motivation?
So for me, the external motivation was the fact that we were building something, and I could see my work being translated directly. Like I could see it quantified, or the end product is visible. But in a big company, you don't know where your efforts are actually going into. You're just so.
I totally agree with you, because I used to work on a company called Trivago, which was a very big company, and or not super big, but there were like more than 1,000 of employees. Then I moved also to a small startup, and Trivago had everything. So you had parties, a nice atmosphere, a great office, good tech. But I always felt that there was missing some purpose. And when I moved to the startup, I didn't have any other perks, or no perks like I had in Trivago, but I had the purpose. And I think it was very much related to that. So the fact that I know that if it wasn't for me, those things wouldn't have happened. Whereas in Trivago, I always had this feeling that, okay, if it's not me, it's someone else, someone other developer that they will do just the same. And actually, I don't make so much of a difference, and I think that's also what I like about the startup.
Right, exactly. And also the fact that if you don't do that work, the work won't get done. So that's also something that you realize when you go to.
Would you recommend people to go work for a startup if they are looking for a purpose, or would you recommend?
I would say it would personally depend on their personality type, whether they like uncertainty, because there's a lot of uncertainty in work and in terms of like salary and perks, or even the product itself or the company's direction itself. Because I feel a lot of times what happens is that people might join a startup without realizing that maybe they don't believe in the product, or they don't believe in the direction of the product, but so I think that would hurt in the long run, like if you're not aligned with what the vision of the company is, because it's so small. Any inflection in any change would affect you also quite deeply. Like for example, if JP Morgan tomorrow says that they want to start investing in crypto, or whatever, they change their stance. For me as an employee, it would not affect that much. But for a startup, if they pivot or they make some change and you're not fully on board with it, it would affect. Yeah.
That's a great tip, and I'll totally subscribe to that. I think that if someone is looking to work for a startup, it's very important to make all the questions, even the uncomfortable questions, like asking what is the runway, what is going to be in 1 year, where the company will be. Like normally you also get to speak with the CEO, and I think it's quite important to understand if as you said, if the future of the company and the path aligns with your own, and where you want to go. Because as you said, you will really be all in, and you are going to be part of the team. And it's also an essential member. Like every new hire for a startup is crucial, because they can also somehow destroy the company,
Exactly.
So,
I think you make a very valid point. Basically, there's no hierarchy in startups, at least that not much, right? Other than maybe the CEO. The rest of them pretty much have their say weighed into each of the decisions. So with that, because they're going all in and there is no hierarchy, it's all the more reason why one must ask and be very sure that what is the startup able to give them as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And let's move our conversation more towards your product, Resumey. So it's resume.bro.
Yeah.
If the listeners want to check it out right now while we're speaking. And so tell me, can pitch me Resumey in like do a little pitch to our listeners about what is Resumey about.
So Resume Pro helps job seekers create unique resumes that help them stand out without a lot of effort. So what I mean by that is that a lot of times what happens is that recruiters get tons of resumes, right? And unfortunately, like a lot of them are not shortlisted; they're not even looked at, right? So you may have the correct skills, and even the ATS system, applicant tracking system, might shortlist your resume because they believe that you have the right skill. But if the recruiter does not take a look at your resume, then you lose out on that opportunity. So it's very critical. As much as we say that there's only so much a resume can convey, there's always the interview stage where you can actually explain yourself. But whether we like it or not, resume is here to stay for at least the foreseeable future. So, so how do you then stand out? So what we realized is that there are some design elements that you can use, like, for example, highlighting with certain colors, or the typography. How do you structure the resume, right? So we have created design templates on that basis. So what we encourage our users to do is just to go there and write their content in markdown. Not to worry about the design, just put your content there. And once you have written it, you can just switch between different designs, like Instagram filters, and just pick the ones that you like. You can customize it further. So that's the idea.
I mean, it makes total sense, and it's definitely a problem. And I think you even say that there's even some statistics on how much the people hiring actually discard resumes. So sometimes it's not about your skills; it's just about you were not able to sell yourself very well. And I think that makes total sense to have a great shiny resume that people can look at. My question is, how does this idea come to you? Is like, or first of all, were you one of the initial founders?
So I'm working on this startup with my husband. So we started this in 2019 when he was looking for a job. So he's a software engineer by profession. Then when he was looking for a job, he realized that he wanted to make his resume stand out. So then he created his resume in Markdown, and he just wanted to play around with different designs, essentially. So typically what happens is when you design in Google Docs or MS Word or even Canva for that matter, once you start using a certain design, you can't go back to a different design. You can't simply switch between designs. So when he was looking for a job, he tried for himself. And then he showed it to me, and then we were quite excited about it. Then we thought, hey, this is a very interesting idea. How about we ask our friends if they would find this interesting? So it was more organic rather than us sitting down and saying, okay, let's build a product or let's come up with something.
I guess there's also a lot of other tools that do also similar. Maybe not Markdown, but you can also write everything in a structured way, and then it changes the template as well. And then in the end, you also have to pay to get your printed copy of your resume. Did you try using these tools beforehand, before starting your own?
Yeah, definitely we did. So the ones that we did use have like where you can change the designs after writing your content as well. A lot of them come with like fixed formats, fixed form. Like it asks you to key in your name, your email address, and whatever the format they have. So they have a
Right,
very
yes.
fixed structure. So with our editor, you can even write your cover letter, not just your resume. You can write anything. You can even write your PhD thesis if you'd like. So that is,
Right.
it's just a markdown editor at the end of the day. So the idea is that we wanted that flexibility. Yeah, so we did try out. Yeah, so in that sense, it is different. It's not substantially different from a lot of resume builders. I wouldn't claim that for sure. But what is different is the markdown element of it, which has been a success with a lot of software engineers we have
Right.
as our users, as well as the flexibility bit. Yeah.
Okay, but if you now I fully understand it, that's completely true. I don't think I've ever used a tool for my resume that I could write with Markdown, so it kind of also makes me think on LaTeX. I don't know if you know about it, where you basically write and also converts everything into a template. If you allow people to write freely, how do you make sure that the structure is the right structure for people hiring?
So there are two things to address your question. One is that we do have a template that people can start using, right? So you either start with a blank page, or you start with a template that we suggest, which also includes like your name, your work experience, skills, education, contact details, and everything. So if someone would like to do that, they can use that. Secondly, what I meant by standing out is, suppose you use like a heading, right? Like a heading for work experience, or so that comes with certain design styles. Because it's in Markdown, we write heading as H1 or H2. So then it knows that this is a heading, and then headings are styled a particular way, and that's why Markdown is so powerful.
So you built this. How long did it take to build the first MVP?
The first MVP was actually quite different to what it is today. We took about say 1.5 months because we were
that was fast.
We were working on it as a side project, but also because it was so lean. We didn't have a very fancy landing page at that time. It was just one or two sections, and then the main product was a one pager. It was not like how you see it today. So it was very, very simple thing, which we wanted to show to our friends as well as put it up on our own social media handles.
So basically, your husband showed you what he was building, and you said, "Okay, this is great. I think this could be something really cool." And then you built an MVP version just to validate the product within your friends and your network, right?
Correct, yes. So I would say that the first 100 users were our friends, were from our network. What I did was I created like a form, like a feedback form, rather like just a form to gather information from our network. How do they currently build their resume? What are they doing? How many of them are looking for a job actively? And just a few questions, essentially just for us to gather some information. And then we also put out this Resume Pro MVP on Reddit for the first 100 users. So we got a lot of interesting feedback from Reddit. That's one community that really invests in, writing in detail, analyzing your product, giving you a lot of suggestions.
Yeah, I know. Also, when I started to change it, I also use Reddit quite a lot to get my first users. But you also get a lot of hate from Reddit, I feel.
Yes.
I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah. Well, they are quite brutal there, but we take what we need to. So I think growing a thick skin is also one of the skills I've developed over the year.
How did you decide what features were necessary for your MVP?
For our MVP, we had to have a certain level of assumptions, I would say, and then we validate those assumptions, because we ourselves are in a place where we were looking for jobs. right? We know how to, like, how we use a resume. So for the MVP itself, we built something that we thought might be useful, because otherwise there's no starting point. So we have to make those assumptions, and then we shared it with people. Because if you ask someone, like a user, you ask them what would you like in a product, oh, we had a huge list of features. But
Yeah.
you gotta start somewhere, like start small and start somewhere. So we had our own assumptions, and then we shared it with them. But I think that's a constant battle throughout building a product. Like you get suggestions from all over, but then you will have to prioritize which features actually do add value and which features you can just put a pin on and then revisit at a later date.
Right. So you came up with the features by yourself, by also your own experience, because you are also your own users, your own clients, because you use also this kind of tool, obviously. And you shared it with Reddit, with your friends, your social networks. What was the first feedback that you got from the network?
The first feedback that we got were, it was a mixed bag, because if you include Reddit, it's definitely a mixed bag. But we realized with friends and family, it's usually very encouraging. But then I would always take it with a pinch of salt, because they want to be nice to you. They want to encourage you. Yeah. So and they might all not be your potential users. Right. So, but it is still the easiest way to reach out to someone, because if people like and comment on it, then it kind of goes to their own network, like your second and third degree connections. So that's what is valuable through friends and family, to reach out more, to amplify. Right. So that's how I see friends and family. While they have good intentions, I'm more interested
in the way to reach their network, right? Okay.
Yes. I do value their feedback.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you. It's they sometimes, if there's something that needs to be said that might be a little bit brutal, they won't say it, right? Exactly. But in Reddit they will. And what did they say on Reddit then?
On Reddit, the first thing is, another resume builder. Like, we have seen so many of these. So that was definitely something that stood out. So in terms of like critical feedback, so it was that. And secondly, they were asking, how do you expect to monetize when there are already so many builders out there? So that was the second question, like about monetization. On the flip side, there were a lot of software engineers or tech enthusiasts there who were excited about Markdown. So that element was positive.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of identified your target user there, right?
Yes, in a way, yes. Because there is a bit of learning curve for Markdown. Not a lot. I would say anyone, even with WhatsApp, who formats their WhatsApp text, makes it bold or underlining. It's very similar, so it's not too complicated. But yes, we kind of validated who our early adopters would be.
So you got this feedback, and you didn't get discouraged by the people also saying that this is another resume builder, because you knew that your target users were developers and that they were excited about it because it was Markdown.
Right.
And what were your next steps?
Right. So I would say we were not discouraged, because we also personally had a need for it. So it was kind of, it arose from that aspect as well. So we are not building it for like this XYZ person, or it's not like a fantastical user, like a fantasy,
Right.
So so after we realized that actually maybe there is someone who would use it, and at that time we weren't too worried about monetizing, because we were in, like, the first 100 users, we were in a very different mindset. Then after that, when we started getting strangers signing up for our users, strangers as in who are not our friends and family, more people started discovering us through Reddit. Then we thought maybe it's time to explore launching on Product Hunt and see how it goes there, because that's where like a ton of our users came in.
So on Reddit, were you posting multiple times, or is it just one post that you got a lot of attention?
So there are a couple of subreddits where we seek feedback. So our intention was to actually get feedback, and probably we made 5 posts, but similar in nature, which was seeking feedback.
You know, something that happens to me, it's really annoying. I get banned.
Oh yes, this happens to me as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it happened to me recently. Not when we first validated, because we were asking questions and asking feedback, but then when I started marketing again very recently on Reddit, I try to be helpful and kind of help people with writing their resumes or enhancing it, and then I also kind of mentioned that this is a product that I'm building, but then they look at it as promotion, and then I was kicked out of a couple. So I don't think Reddit would be great in terms of promoting a product unless you're advertising.
Yeah.
So
true. I think Reddit is great for your launch as well.
Yeah.
Or to collect initial feedback.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because there normally you get a lot of attention. But then if you get back and said, hey, by the way, now I build it, blah, 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 then they will just get annoyed. I think Reddit, this is a great point. Reddit is great for launching, as it is Product Hunt. So how did that go, launching in Product Hunt?
So for Product Hunt, we had to wait for a couple of months to be a maker. So there was a waiting list to become a maker on Product Hunt. So we did consider being hunted by someone.
I don't even know what that is. What is that concept?
Oh, right. So there are these few star users, if I may call them that, and they are called hunters, who hunt interesting products out in the market, and then they help you launch on Product Hunt. So these people have say thousands of followers. So the Levels.io is one of them, for example.
I always feel that Product Hunt, it's so much bigger than I thought it was. Because what I always do is I go there, I click submit, I submit my product, and then I get 3 upvotes, and that's it. But now I recently learned, and also with the interview with Alexandra, that there are many tools that we can use. And now I learned from you that there's people hunting other products.
Right.
So I always have this feeling that I'm doing something wrong. But so you didn't want to be hunt, you wanted to become a maker, so you waited a couple of months, right?
Right. Well, it is difficult to find a hunter who wants to hunt you, especially because you're so small. Even when you reach out to someone, it's like a cold call, like you may be lucky, you might get them to hunt you, but it's basically sales in a way. So then we decided to launch on Product Hunt, and over the next, I think, 2 or 3 days, we got 900 new signups for a product, and this is over 3 days, and
that's a lot.
Before
900.
that, 900, and about 4,000 visits to our website, and then 900 signups. So that's how the funnel flowed down. And
signups, you mean people giving their emails?
Yes, giving their emails, creating their profiles, trying out resumes.
That is crazy good.
Yes.
In only 4,000 visits, you got 900.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Because Product Hunt, a lot of them are already coming with the mindset to try your product. They are your early adopters. They are the ones who are enthusiastic. So in a way, you don't have to market a lot with them. They already have bought in the idea that they want whoever comes, they are very keen.
How do you get so many upvotes? I tried that, but I never get anything besides those, 5 or 6 or whatever that are my friends. So I'm probably doing something wrong here.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew what the secret was, but we did launch it. You can schedule your launch, so that's one thing we did. We scheduled our launch, and once this was up, we kind of published it on our social media pages. We don't ask for upvotes, so that's something that's not allowed on Product Hunt. You don't solicit votes, but you just tell them that you've published it. Why a certain thing clicks and why something doesn't is something I'm not too sure. Yeah.
it's the magic of the algorithm, let's say. The same with Hacker News, for instance. Sometimes Hacker News, I don't know if you know this website.
Yeah, I do.
But when you share something, sometimes it gets viral or a bunch of upvotes, and it's great for your business. And sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah, when we launched on Hacker News, we got like 80 new users, and that's about it. Versus 900 on Product Hunt. So,
I mean, you got 5,000 views and 900 signups, which I think it's amazing. So, did you then think, okay, we have a great product that people are interested? Or were those signups like a one-time thing where people were just curious and then they just left? How did that go?
So, Product Hunt, when we first launched, interesting thing is that we had not monetized at that time. But people who had joined through Product Hunt, eventually through the year have remembered us and have come back like after a few months. Like we launched in September 2019. And throughout of 2020, we got a lot of, we launched in September 2020, and throughout this whole period, we have gotten a lot of users coming back and using our product. So that's fascinating for us as founders, because there is nothing actively that we are doing on Product Hunt that makes them remember or come back. But that's a trend that we have noticed. And I think because also, as I said, these users are a very different breed of users. They are genuinely interested in trying out new things. And because they feel that this resume builder is a bit different with Markdown, they would want to, they remember and come back. But it's not something like a user just Googles for something or searches online and comes.
So would you say that after that your product was validated?
So I would say for product validation, that's a very interesting question, because while a lot of people have like a lot of positive things to say about the product, or they come back, they create their resume, but how do we know whether it's really valuable for them? So that's the question, right? I would say that if someone actually pays for my product, that's already that's the validation that I'm looking at. Because when someone is able to, give their money, give their dollars and say, here, like I'm willing to give this up to be able to use your product, there's nothing like it. So I would say for anyone looking to validate their product, just
ask for money.
Yes, ask for money. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be even like something like $2, $5, or something small. But if someone says that they find this product valuable, they want to pay for it, then I think that's great. Yeah.
So then let's speak about money. Let's speak about monetization. So you said that in the beginning you're not thinking too much about how to monetize it. I guess now you were, right? Like after Product Hunt, you're already thinking, okay, how am I going to make money with this?
Right. Actually, in fact, someone was very surprised. Someone in our network was very surprised that we hadn't monetized it before launching on Product Hunt, because they felt that that's a nice avenue to get people to even pay for your product. Because some of the early adopters, some of them are enthusiasts of products, so they could be interested in paying. Our intention was to just launch our product, and we were excited to show it to the world that this is what we have done. Can you come check it out? We had a lot of users, repeat users from Product Hunt coming back and using the product. We thought, okay, so let us try monetizing and see how it goes. And it's a bit tricky as well. How do you price your product? What should the different pricing tiers be?
Yeah.
So,
and what was the idea? It's like, why would people pay?
Yeah, so that's another thing. So whether we have to monetize for downloads or for accessing the platform, or locking certain features, what should it be? There are a lot of options that you have, right? So what we decided to do, and we are still running experiments on this. We realized that we'll have to do some experiment. There is no way that we can say, okay, I will take user feedback, and then I will set up the price at this price point. So what we did was we just we did research of our competitors, kind of saw where the market is at, but that doesn't necessarily mean people would pay for our product. We're still very nascent. So we looked at the top resume builders. We made a matrix of that, their pricing plans and the amount, and then we kind of priced it a bit lower than that. So that was our starting point.
Right. So people would pay to use the product?
There's a trial period of 3 days, and then to get access to be able to download the resume, they will have to pay.
But and I use another tool for my resume as well. Now I forget the name. But they do exactly the same model. But what I do is when I reach the resume part, I can kind of take a print screen or something. I don't know. I always find a way to somehow overcome this paying wall.
Right.
Isn't that the same for your users?
Sure. I do think like maybe some users do that, but in the resume we have the ability to add in URLs. So if you were to take a screenshot, your URL might not work. Or and also when you're submitting a PDF, the quality is higher when you can download it. So that's but screenshot is something that one can do.
And so you said you have multiple tiers, or no? You only have one tier of payment.
So we have 3 now. So we have changed our pricing. So for a year we kept certain pricing, and very recently we modified the model. So now it is 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months access. For us, on the business side, on the finance side, what the next thing would be is to figure out what is our North Star metric.
Right. So you want to figure out which metric you can use that will lead to the money. So you want to see where people are willing to pay the most, right? It's on downloading. Is it having an extra feature? Is it having some machine learning? I don't know, analysis of the resume. You want to see what people are willing to pay for. Is that it?
Right. So what I mean by North Star metric, let me give you an example. So if you take Uber, their North Star metric could be the number of rides completed, right? What that means is that it means everything falls beautifully together when you look at number of rides completed. That means the driver has driven this ride, the person who has taken the ride, who's the user, the customer has completed the ride, and the transaction has completed. So Uber has also gotten their percentage of cut from that ride. So the revenue has been generated, the users have gotten their value. So everything falls beautifully there. And at that point, you measure that, and then that's where they are charging as well, the rides completed. That's where their monetization lies. Right. So I mean, so for us, we still have to figure that out. So where they derive most value, as you said, is it the number of downloads, or are they getting more value by, say, suppose we introduce like a watermark, so they can still use the free version, but is it more valuable for them to remove a watermark, or what is it? So we'll have to figure that out.
Got it. So you finished. You added your first paywall, right? And how did that go? Like, did you lose all of your users? Did you get users? Did you get people paying? How did that go?
So surprisingly, we did get a lot of payments in the first 2 weeks, I would say, and then then there was a bit of dry spell. But then after that we got again. But November was when, like end of October 2020 was when we introduced. And in the month of November, we got about 10 paid users in 30 days, which was like great. for us. Yeah, so we didn't lose customers. It's just that people who didn't want to pay didn't use the platform. That's what happened.
So how many paying users did you say you had in the first month?
10.
Was that enough for you to validate your product? Did you think, okay, we have something here because people are paying for, or were you expecting for more?
So honestly, we didn't start with any expectations. So that was the first time we made dollars on the internet. So we were already celebrating after getting 10 payments. But we were aware that this could be a spike because of, the recent product hunt launch. It could be because of that. And we would have to wait for a few months to see that if we are consistently getting that amount. After November, it did take a dip. The revenue did take a dip, right? And for a couple of months, but then slowly after we also realized that, product hunt is just a one-time thing. We can't rely on that. That won't work for us. So we will have to do something actively to keep the users coming in and then the revenue coming in.
Right.
And then we have to see marketing as an ongoing process. We can't say that, okay, I have done this one campaign or I have done this launch and then I'm gonna sit back chill for a couple of months. So that was a painful learning that we had early part of this year.
And that's the painful learning that every bootstrapper has, to be honest, which is, oh, wait, I need to do marketing every day.
Exactly.
We all think that we launch on Product Hunt once or Reddit, and then that's it.
Right.
Then we are rich. But no, it's a constant thing that we have to do, and it's super annoying.
Yes.
So what are your marketing sources, and what are you using to market your product at the moment?
Right. At the moment, so we had two things we tried. One is social media and the other is email marketing. So social media for user acquisition, new users, so that we fill the top of the funnel. And then email marketing is to nurture our existing users to come back and use the product. So we had that two-step process. Social media works fine. So far, Twitter, LinkedIn, not Reddit. Reddit did not work. But mainly we have stuck to two platforms. More than that would be a tad bit difficult. And also now that we know that, our target audience hangs out on these platforms, and then we just stick to that, right? So just focus.
Do you use paid ads, paying ads?
No, I have used it in the past, but no luck. Like we spend $100 and then it's pay per click, so you know how many people are clicking. But it did not give any paid user, to be honest. So I would say, don't waste your time on paid ads, because there are so many other things a bootstrapper at such an early stage can do. And I would say that paid ads is a big game, like the big companies have their large guns out. They have a lot of money that they can pump in.
True.
Yeah, so even $1,000 might not be enough to do good paid ads.
Yeah, true,
right?
true.
So
what is your strategy to advertise your Resumey tool on Twitter? What do you tweet about?
So it's just engagement. So both LinkedIn and Twitter, I would say, is you just engage with people. You have your product in your banner on your profile, but I haven't shoved it in people's posts. I haven't written, hey, this is my app, check it out. I don't think that works. But I think it requires a lot of patience. You have to be genuinely interested and invested in the community that you want to be a part of. People talk about building communities, but you don't even have to go that far. You just be a part of a community where your audience is hanging out, where your target audience are. And because you're solving for a problem, just try to talk to them. Like for me, for example, it's related to job search. So I could write, say, tips on how they could structure their sentences better in a resume, or the tone and things like that. So so that's mainly that, I would say, with social media. But then it's an everyday thing. That was a painful pill to swallow, that it has to become a part of you.
With my projects, and it's it's for both. So both my podcast and my app. It's during the launch I got my users kind of, and I haven't been able to improve on that, especially for the podcast. Like the podcast, I launched it, and in the first month, the number of listeners I had per episode is basically the same as after 3 months, and it's really frustrating because I'm not able to grow beyond that.
Right.
Is that something that is also happening to you, or are you seeing a growth every month?
For us, it's a very steady, slow growth. I would say linear. I would like for it to be exponential. But I think at least from what I have read, like articles by other bootstrappers, that it could be linear maybe for a couple of months, but there is a point where there is an inflection point where it could just snowball into something larger. So you just have to keep at it, and then you never know what would click. Maybe one tweet might get viral or something. Like for example, we posted on dev.to, one of the platforms where developers hang out, and we got a lot of traffic from one small post, which we hadn't even imagined would be interesting for them, but we got a lot of clicks, a lot of signups from that one post. So
yeah, I mean, true. I've heard that a lot. People say like keep on pushing, and one day we're all waiting for that magic viral retweet that someone will retweet our product and we'll suddenly become rich. But I start doubting that. I start thinking that won't happen, because I don't know if it's not growing 30% every month or something, it something might be wrong, and we might have to change our approach. I don't know. But one thing that I got from Dagobert, I don't know if you heard this interview, but he told me that the great tool for him was to have a chat on his website so that he can interact with the clients himself. Do you have the same as well?
Yeah, so we did introduce a chat feature for them to just get in touch with us. Personally, we haven't had a lot of luck with the chat. But I have had a lot of conversations outside of our own platform, like on social media. Right. So I guess it depends on your product as well, or depends on your situation. Yeah, but definitely it's good to have that option for people to come and talk to you.
And what about SEO? Do you see a lot of people coming just by organic searching on Google? So
right now that's what is picking up. Initially that it wasn't that great, but also SEO takes a lot of time. So it is for the long term. People do search for markdown resume, beautiful markdown resume, and keywords like that. So we would like to optimize it further, and we want to build. In the past few months, one of the learnings I've had is that building content is kind of like the foundation for marketing for any channel. So once you have a certain amount of content, it could help with SEO, it could help with reposting on social media, it could even help with creating backlinks, with other domains with higher authority. So things like that.
Yeah, so that's something also that I've been learning, that the best way to have a consistent marketing source is to have content, because people will end up, if you are actually solving a problem, people will end up finding you and using you. And I've seen that, for instance, with Change It, that most of my users that come download the app daily, they come from searching from the Play Store. When they search for climate change, then they find it and then they install. And the same, I also have a website, so I always now tell to people that first thing that they should do is to build a website and a blog from day one. It will take a while. It will take a while, but that's where your users will come in the future. I don't know. I'm also figuring these things out as I go.
Just keep at it, basically.
One last thing that I want to ask you is, so you decided to quit your job.
Yeah.
Is your husband also all in this?
No, so he hasn't quit his job, and I am also taking up some freelance projects on the side to keep some of the income coming in, because it is a very risky decision, and there's only so much savings that you can dig into. So I've also given myself some time to see that, if we can bring it up to a sustainable level where it can replace my income. But if it doesn't, then I will have to take some serious decisions, whether to continue, or like I can always go back to working. So that's the thing that gives me confidence, that especially because a lot of roles are now remote, or you can just, just go and.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about going back to work?
Not that great. Not ideal. Yes, definitely not ideal. Doesn't excite me at the moment. What excites me is the potential that our product has. So I truly believe that we can take this up to the next level. So
you're how much money are you making now per month?
Per month, about $110. Yeah, so month on month. Yeah.
I mean, that's already 10 times more what I'm making. So it's great for me, I wish. I mean, that's where the frustration lies, right? Where do you also have these dark times where you think, what the hell am I doing? Like, I love this product, but it's just not paying the bills.
Yes, so that's when I started freelancing. I could not, it kind of eats me up, because you're so used to this constant income, every month you get salary, so that there is some cushioning, but then once that's taken away, which is why I've considered freelancing as well. So then I don't have to be so worried where it causes anxiety for me, but I can still choose when to work and when not to work. So I can take up projects when I really feel the need a bit. But
I thought of that too, to do that, but I don't know because it also takes you time, right?
Exactly,
it takes you time from your product, from your main focus. But I definitely feel like oh my god, like I cannot buy stuff.
Yes.
Before I used to buy stuff, a vacation, some item that I want, and then I thought, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
And now I think every time I buy, no, this is just like
too expensive.
reducing my runway.
Right.
As a last question that I want to ask you, and this is always a hard one, so take your time to think about it. But what have you learned since you started Resumey? What are the top things you've learned that you didn't know before that now you know, and you'd probably change if you would have to start all over again?
I would say the biggest learning for me has been that marketing can easily be like 80% of your time. Like it would make sense to put 80% of your time into marketing and say 20% into your product. Once your product is already built to a certain stage, you don't need to keep pushing more features or adding more things. It's very tempting. But I feel that's a wake-up call that I had when I started, because personally, I'm very excited to build more features, and like a spell check, and even collaborate with other platforms like job search platforms, or have more features. But then, as a founder, you need to constantly go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what is the most important thing? Because I have quit my job. I want to build a sustainable business. So revenue is of importance. It's not a side project anymore where I can just keep building features because I like to. The second thing I learned is basically don't buy domains or don't buy things before you even validate your product. So I had two other ideas in the past, as I mentioned, which failed. So what we had done was we bought the domain and we started building it, login page, everything, but then we soon realized that was not a product someone requires. So I would say just build as minimal as possible at the beginning.
Right, yeah. Kavya, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your journey with us, the wannabe entrepreneurs. It was a true pleasure to learn from you.
Thank you, Thiago. I didn't even realize when the hour went by.
It was a super nice conversation, and I will link your Twitter, your website, and everything you want me to share on the show notes.
Great.
Just make sure to check that out, and I hope that you learned a lot also from Kavya, as I did. And you already know there's also many other interviews for you to listen. So you can go to the website. You can go to just wannabe-entrepreneur.com and check the episodes, and you can even filter by interviews. And there's many other nice entrepreneurs to learn from. So yeah, this was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you tomorrow.